You'll be the first one to get the full story because I don't do books anymore. So I went to a Goodwill in Maine. It's the New England Regional Center where all of the New England Goodwills store kind of their stuff. So if you look up their warehouse, it's pretty absurd. They have like 150 to 200 Gaylords of books at all times in the back, like stacked up. It's absurd, but it's a by the pound store in the front, and then they have a massive warehouse in the back. They would let me buy them for $10 a Gaylord. If you know any bulk booksellers, that is an absurd price.
Cheers.
Oh, I forgot I got sparkling water.
Good stuff. Welcome back to the Doughboys podcast. I'm your host, Logan. I'm joined by my lovely Studley co-host, Flipping It with Cisco, and Formosa Golden Locks McGill here. Today, we are joined by a special guest, Ben Books the World. What's up, everybody? How's it going? Sweet. All right. Ben, if you could start us off, just kind of give us your background and what you're up to.
Yeah, sure. I will start kind of at the beginning, but not too far. So I have been selling on Amazon for about 4 years now. I ran a bulk book warehouse for about a year in Maine, where I had 5 employees, and we were fully automated staff doing everything at the warehouse. And then I switched to OA last year, or about a year and a half ago. I've been doing OA up until now. And since last year, I've also been a full-time digital nomad and working remotely from 11 different countries around the world in the last year, and also going to 38 different states with my car. And as of my Google timeline, apparently I drove 28,000 miles last year too.
Wow, that's a lot.
Now I'm coming to you live from Panama City in Panama on another year of traveling around, as I just left Venezuela also. So I'm already 4 countries deep into this new year.
Oof. So how did all of that lead you into traveling? What inspired you to start traveling the world and the country and everything that you do now?
Yeah, so one of my biggest influences for getting me open to travel and just seeing other parts of the world was that I got to experience some of it when I was very young. So my mom is from Germany, and I grew up speaking German at home, and I grew up going to Germany every year in the summer from being, I think, 3 or 4 years old to visit my grandma and grandpa. And so I got to see Germany as a very young kid and experience being out of the US. And then in 6th grade, my parents took me and my brother out of school, and we went to Spain for 3 months and learned Spanish at like a Spanish speaking school, and were homeschooled for a little while so that we could get another experience. And like, my parents never really believed in like giving gifts and material items to me and my brother. So we did experiences and trips instead, which I'm very grateful for. And in 6th grade, I got to go to Germany and go to school in a German school for 1 month, and I loved it. So the next year, I basically stayed an entire year in Germany in 7th grade and went to a German gymnasium, which is kind of like their highest schooling system level for 7th grade. I was there with my dad for 6 months, and then he left, and I was actually there by myself as a 13-year-old for 6 months. My mom was basically like, if you want to stay the full year, you figure it out. So I talked to kids in my class and asked if I could stay with their families. And so I ended up staying with 6 different families to end that year. And that was all kind of stuff that got me interested in travel. And then after that year, I went back to the US and really didn't travel anymore. And then COVID happened and all that stuff. And kind of towards the end of that 2-year COVID period, I took a trip to Texas, which was like my first time going anywhere again. And then from there, I did a road trip around the US, and that got me back into like how much I love travel. And after that trip, I was like, oh, I'm done with this bulk book warehouse. Like, I couldn't stand the thought of being in one place and just having like such a simple routine like that anymore. And I needed to travel because I just loved it so much. And so from there, that's what pushed me to switch to OA. And within a month of doing OA, I was fully remote to a prep center. I started in October, November of last year, I guess, last year, 2020, I guess. No, 2021. I started doing that, and then I converted my car. I put a bed into it. I put my skis underneath and my clothes and a stove, and I traveled around the U.S. and skied, and then went to Costa Rica, and that was my first time abroad again. I was there for an Amazon seller retreat actually, and within being there for like 4 days, I canceled my flight back to the U.S. and I stayed there for 2 months. And the rest of the year, I was just traveling. And so now I'm back on the travel wagon, and like everything I do is to make sure that I can keep traveling more and experiencing new countries, cultures, and languages.
Super cool. Sounds like a really, unique upbringing, and obviously it had a big impact on you. I'm curious on hearing more about like that bulk book business, because like it's such a different life than what you described. Like being fixed in one thing, being like bulk books, from what I've heard, is just an absolute grind. Like you're fixed, you're not going anywhere. So I'm curious to hear like how that impacted you.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal. I'll just start. So like basically, books is how I started doing Amazon. When I was 17, sophomore year of high school, me and my friend, we started doing Amazon and going to like every thrift store, every book sale, and like getting as many books as we could to sell on Amazon. And then he went to college, and I saw that there was an opportunity with it. And at that point, I was still kind of debating if I wanted to go to college or not. And at that point, I was like, this could work. Like, and I really don't want to go to college and pay all that money. So that summer, I pretty much lived in my car and drove around all of New England for 3 months, just like sleeping in my car, going to library sales, trying to find as many possible books as possible. And eventually, towards the end of the summer, I went to a Goodwill, which I guess I can share now. You'll be the first one to get the full story because I don't do books anymore. So I went to a Goodwill in Maine, Gorham, Maine. It's the New England Regional Center where all of the New England Goodwills store kind of their stuff. And so if you look up their warehouse, it's pretty absurd, but basically they have like 150 to 200 Gaylords of books at all times in the back, like stacked up. It's absurd, but it's a by the pound store in the front, and then they have a massive warehouse in the back. And so I was just scanning books at the Goodwill by the pound, and someone told me you can buy Gaylords and just go scan them in the back of the warehouse. And so I talked to the manager, and they would let me buy them for $10 a Gaylord,
What?
which, if you know any bulk booksellers, that is an absurd price. So I was paying $10 a Gaylord, and I was scanning them in the back of the Goodwill. And so I did it one weekend, and I was like, holy crap, these like books are insane. Like it's so cheap. And I was just like, I have to keep doing this. So that was right around when my senior year of high school started. And so I lived in Vermont for high school, and this was in Maine. So every Friday afternoon, I would drive from Vermont down to the Goodwill, and I would get there Friday night, and I would just text the manager that I was coming, and he would set up 2 Gaylords for me to scan through. I'd go through 2 that night, and then Saturday and Sunday, I'd go there all day and scan, and I could usually get through like 14 Gaylords in a weekend. And on top of that, I would get a ton of like DVDs and like random stuff, like DVDs, CDs, like sealed stuff that I would bring to the local bookstore that was right next to the Goodwill, and they'd give me cash. And I would usually get enough cash every weekend to pay for all the Gaylords. So then all the books were free. And on top of that, I would bring a friend with me too to help scan every weekend. And so I would just keep doing that. And the craziest thing is they even let me, I don't know if you know Bill from Sell Back Your Books, but it's like another monetization service. So like when you do bulk books, there's like all these other companies that'll pay you like 10 cents to 30 cents for like books that you can't sell. And they'll pop up on Scout IQ or whatever you're scanning with. And so I would fill up 1 Gaylord of books every weekend from those 12 to 14 for Bill. And he would pay me about $180 for that Gaylord. And I would do that every weekend. But the Goodwill was so clutch that they would wrap up that Gaylord, and then I would send them the BOL on Monday morning when I was back in high school in Vermont, and they would like deal with all the LTL and the pickup and ship it out for me.
And that's crazy. So $10 a Gaylord, was that before you scanned through it, or is that a Gaylord that you filled with good books?
Before I scanned through it, so I was just getting like raw ones with the main.
That's still like crazy good though.
Oh yeah, it was absurd. I was bringing home.
Pay for that Gaylord by itself.
Yeah.
Do you know what your average accept rate was?
20 times over.
I don't think my accept rate was crazy, but I was averaging. I think I was bringing back between 400 and 500 books from a weekend, and I was getting like about $4 to $5 grand in estimated profit from that like shipment, maybe a little more than that. I blew out my car's brakes within like a month of doing that because
it's okay. It paid for itself.
Oh yeah, I had a Pontiac Vibe, and I would stuff all the books into that car. And the ride home, my car was just like sinking. It was like a 4-hour drive.
Jesus. I feel bad for your tires now.
Yeah. But basically that connection I was using up until February or whenever COVID canceled everything. I think it was like February of that year. And so basically for 3 months, I didn't do any books. I actually did Instacart for 3 months, which was kind of absurd too. I don't know if you guys followed me back then, but Instacart was insane. I made like 16 grand in 3 months doing that, just every day.
Nobody wanted to go out. It was like towards the tail end of the whole COVID lockdown.
Exactly. Like Reezy was making videos about it, I think too.
Yeah.
Like I was getting like $300-$400 a day from it. It was crazy. But once things opened up a little, I actually through Renzi now. I don't know if you guys know them. They're the shoe resellers. They're not really in the Amazon community, but they do like 10 to 20 grand a month net profit selling used shoes. It's pretty absurd. But they connected me with my business partner, Josh. And he just kidding. He just happened to have a warehouse like 30 minutes from that Goodwill. And he had just sold a company, and now this 8,000 square foot warehouse was empty. And he was like, I'm looking for something to do. Like, you know how to do the books. I have the warehouse. And we talked to the Goodwill, and they agreed to start sending full truckload shipments to the warehouse. And we were paying $0 in rent for the warehouse also, even though it's like 8,000 square feet. So between that and the cheap Gaylords, it made for a good combination. Yep. And so we basically worked together. And we were trying to go through one truckload of 52 Gaylords every 2 weeks or so. And I ended up having one of my friends from high school. I told them I got an apartment in Maine for the year right after COVID canceled everything. Cause I was like, whatever, high school, they'll make me graduate. Like, I don't really care. So I stopped opening any emails from school, but I got my diploma. And
that's an important part. That's all that matters.
They just give you a diploma.
Exactly. Like, I literally didn't open any emails from the school the last 6 months after they made us go online. And so I somehow still passed, but
I mean, why would you? You're basically making just as much as the teachers, if not more.
Yeah. So I moved to Maine, I got an apartment, and I texted one of my high school friends. I was like, you can live with me for free in this apartment because it was 2 bedrooms if you like scan for us. And he was like, okay, that works. So he came down, and he was our first employee. And then I got another high school friend that moved down, got another apartment near us, and he brought another friend who also became an employee for us. And we just kept getting employees. We had like 5. And we got to the point where we could do a truckload in, I think the fastest we ever did one was 4 days. But then with like getting 52 recycling ones out and like new ones in was very like logistical nightmare. But yeah, no, it was such a fun process learning how to run logistics and just manage something that big and that like messy. And even though I did nothing basically that year except like hustle in the warehouse and scan 10 hours a day, like I learned so much more than I ever would in a year, like 4 years of business school, probably, about running a business, dealing with employees and doing all that stuff. And so when the time came where I took that road trip and realized that the warehouse was not the thing I wanted to be doing, I was still very thankful for that year and that opportunity. And it just happened to be like the time where a lot of people were making the switch to OA. So it kind of all worked out perfectly then.
Yeah. And even though like you didn't love it, it was still like a stepping stone to get you to OA. which really allows you to travel. It allows you to work remotely, and I imagine a lot of your travel is free because of credit card points and things like that.
Oh yeah, I can talk about credit card points forever. I stayed 72 nights for free last year.
That's crazy.
And I plan on doing more this year.
So what's your favorite, I guess, hotel chain to stay at?
Hyatt. So Hyatt has by far the best program, point redemption, value, service, everything. Like, it's not even close. Marriott's probably the next one, and then Hilton is the easiest to get points with, but the cost to pay one Hilton night is just not always worth it. I have status with all of them. I have diamond status on Hilton and globalist on Hyatt. I don't have the top status on Marriott, but I'm working towards that. But Hyatt is by far my favorite, and it is a partner at Chase. And so if you maximize the Chase cards and transfer them over to Hyatt, that's your best option. And so basically what I've been recommending, which is like, honestly, just like unfair how easy it is, especially for Amazon sellers who are spending a ton, is basically there's 6 cards you can do that will get you 450,000 Chase points. And then if you add in the Hyatt business card and the Hyatt personal card on top of that, it ends up being 570,000 points. And you could do all of those easily in a year. And the average Hyatt night is 5,000 points a night for a category 1.
Wow. Yeah, and just to kind of put it into perspective, because I know me and Logan talk a lot about Amex points. So like 225,000 Amex points is equivalent to like $250, $300, depending on like what you use it on. With Hyatt, 25,000 Hyatt reward points can give you one night at like a top tier hotel that normally costs anywhere between like $500 to $700 a night. So it's double what an Amex point would be.
Exactly. Or if you use it for the category 1s, you can like make it even more.
And you can stay there forever.
Category 1.
So there's category 1 through 7 with Hyatt. Category 1s are 5,000 points a night, and then category 7, which is the highest tier, I think is 25,000 or 30,000 maybe max a night in points. But the thing that I utilized is basically the 5,000. There's a lot of 5,000 point a nights in the U.S., and they're usually the basic hotels like Hyatt House, Hyatt Regency, Hyatt Place. But what I really did to maximize it is I just left the US. And so a category 1 that was 5,000 points a night, I stayed at in Dubai. And last year I stayed at a category 7 Grand Hyatt in Vail. The category 1 in Dubai that was 5,000 points a night was 3 times as nice as the one in Vail, which was category 7, and I paid 20,000 points a night for it.
I love Dubai.
And so this Hyatt in Dubai, they had a cold plunge, they had a sauna, they had tennis courts, pool, they had a 360-degree revolving restaurant on top of the hotel. And it was the hotel was also connected with a mall that had an ice skating rink, movie theater, restaurants, and shopping. And I stayed there for 2 weeks at 5,000 points a night.
Wow.
That's wild.
The craziest thing on top of it, you could stay there 2 weeks and never spend any money on food either.
That's all included.
Because of globalist status. This is a Hyatt Regency, and Hyatt Regencies have something called the Regency Club, which is basically like an airport lounge, but it's in the hotel. Mm-hmm. And with globalist status, you get access to that. And every night they do dinner, free alcohol, free snacks during the day. And it's all included and free. And like, I don't know what the level of quality it is in the US for a Regency Club. I've never had a dinner in the US with one, but in Dubai and Istanbul, they're serving like steak and stuff for dinner for free.
That's
and wild. As a globalist, your breakfast is included too. And the continental breakfasts are absurd. Like, you'd pay $90 at least for like a breakfast buffet of like these qualities in the US.
Yeah, most things internationally are definitely a lot better. Even like the Sky Lounges and Centurion Lounges are better internationally.
Yeah. So much better. It's just such a higher quality of like hospitality and service.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, you're so respected as a globalist member. They're like, whatever you want.
It's a different tier of service that you receive, and versus like being the same thing in the US. It's crazy. But like, one thing that I struggle with is like when I go on like vacation and stuff like that, like my brain instantly shuts off. And even though I set a plan to like source an hour when I wake up and then, check my repricer and check messages and stuff like that, I can never do it when I'm traveling. I can be traveling for 3 or 4 days. I could be traveling for 10 days, but for whatever reason, my mind cannot like open up my laptop and just start working. So do you run into like the same thing? I'm sure it's a little bit different because you're always traveling, so you have to be a little bit more disciplined. But do you like set a rhythm for yourself or a routine that you do every single day when you're traveling, or how does
Yeah,
that look like?
so that's the biggest thing that you said. Basically, I'm always traveling versus a vacation, and so once you turn into that full-time travel where like this is your life, it's not like a vacation anymore. You're just always like traveling. It changes it up. So like for a normal person, if you're going on vacation, that's usually when you want to jam as much things in and explore and see all these sites, or just totally relax, depends what kind of vacation. For me, since I know I'm always going to be traveling, I kind of have to pace it out. And so some people will look at it and like there was a day when we were in Venezuela where we literally were just with the local family. We hung out, we made pizzas at night, and like I went to the dentist in Venezuela. Like it was just a normal like day and nothing really happened. And some people might look at that and be like, wow, you just wasted a whole day. But once you're always traveling, like you can't be doing stuff every day or you're going to burn out. And so that's kind of where you're able to then balance it, because I can go to a place like I just went to Cartagena in Colombia before Venezuela, and like there was a bunch of stuff I didn't get to see because I had to work a couple days and I only had a few days there. But I didn't try to squeeze them all in because I know I might be back someday and I'm always going to be traveling. And so that's kind of what I've been working on. When I first started traveling remotely, like in Costa Rica and Panama, I didn't get that much work done. And it was mostly like I was staying at hostels. So like if someone was like, oh, we're going to go biking today, I was like, okay, I'm not going to work. And now that I've been doing it for basically a year, I'm finding that I'm able to structure it better to get more work done. So like the last 10, 12 days in Venezuela, I didn't do any work for Amazon. But now I'm in Panama City, and all I've done the last 4 days is sit in the hotel room and get work done. And so
Get work done with a view.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a nice view out of my window of the ocean and stuff. And so I'm just happy to sit here, get work done, and it's fine because I don't feel like I'm missing anything because my body is ready to get some work done. And then next week I'm going to Costa Rica, and I'll probably get work done for most of the time, and then maybe go see some friends or go on a exploration or something. And I mean, some people have a tough time just like that. Some people have a tough time balancing that. But I think it just comes down to like being disciplined every once in a while. Like if you know you need to get some stuff done, rather than stay at a hostel, go book an Airbnb or a hotel for a few days where you can just not really worry about food, not really worry about anything, just sit down and get productive work done. Like I just finished filming my year expenses video for YouTube. I was actually working on that, editing it the last hour. And that took a while, but I had good quality and light and whatever. And then before that, I just spent the whole day kind of sourcing and doing other stuff for the Amazon biz. And so, yeah, that's kind of how I balance it out. You just got to kind of pick your days.
Could you walk us through a little bit more like the actual logistics of how your business runs? Are you doing all your own product research? Are you with just one prep center, and just how does everything operate?
Yeah, so right now I'm kind of in a little bit of a transitional phase, but basically I only use one prep center, which has been absolutely amazing for me. They got their own software, and they've just been so efficient, like 24 or 48 hour turnaround most of the time, and just a really good tracking system so that stuff doesn't get lost. I actually just got my first VA 2 days ago, and so the last 2 nights I've been training them and working on stuff with them, and it's pretty cool to wake up in the morning and see, like spreadsheets filled with stuff. So that's pretty exciting. And so I really like that. And then kind of on the transitional phase, I was going really hard on OA up until December. And then I kind of took most of January off just to kind of sell out of things, recoup, and just kind of see like how much money I'm at once I sell through everything, and just kind of take a break because I was having a lot more trouble finding profitable items and dealing with a lot of tanking and stuff. And so I just got to a point where I was a little frustrated. So I was just like, I'll take a break. And the one thing that I really enjoy about the traveling is that I don't have to make that much money to continue what I want to do. Like I've consistently spent under $2,000 a month for the last year, and I've eaten out every single meal for a year. So
must be
like
nice.
it's definitely been nice not worrying about that. But yeah, so I've been a little bit transitioning out of OA and doing a little bit of eBay to Amazon, which has been fun. And also now that I'm kind of taking a step back and ready to get back into it, I'm hoping to do a little OA again too, and just kind of get back to that consistent monthly profit. And then really, as long as I'm hitting my couple grand a month in profit, like I'm always interested in growing and like making more. But I'm also I wouldn't say I have a limited amount of time to work, but like the way I want to balance it is I don't want to like put all my days into working. And so like everyone has different goals with Amazon, and my goal is kind of just to make that couple grand a month and be able to continue being remote. And that's like my number one goal.
Nice. Now, do you ever see yourself transitioning to be like a full-time digital nomad content creator? Is that
That
the
is
goal?
my goal. Yeah. So I'm actually working on getting my blog up right now, so that I can start monetizing that with like AdSense and stuff, and writing articles and using like making credit card articles where people use my links. And I've been watching a couple of webinars of content travel creators. And I've been posting a lot on YouTube Shorts right now, which has been really good. They're really pushing YouTube Shorts right now. So Instagram's been kind of killing me on engagement, but YouTube Shorts has been great, and TikTok's been growing a lot. So yeah, I'm trying to balance Amazon and content creation and travel at the same time, which is definitely a lot. But travel is definitely my goal. Like Amazon, I'm very grateful for what it's allowed me to do, but it's never been something that I love doing. It's more something that allows me to do what I want to do. So if I were able to monetize travel and content creation in the way that I've seen some friends do and other people out there do, that would be really something I would love to continue to focus on.
Yeah. And I feel like that's why Amazon won't ever really be truly saturated, because a lot of people use Amazon as a stepping stone to be able to do the next thing that they want to do. And so once sellers get big enough and they have enough capital to go into the next venture that they're really actually passionate about, they kind of leave the Amazon space and leaving that void in there for someone else to kind of take over.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. So Ben, talking about how you want to, like focus on the travel content long term, do you think you'll ever put out a course teaching people how to like maximize credit reward points or anything like that?
I don't know if I'll do a course. So I have my blueprint right now, like my spreadsheet that walks people through it. But I do want to make a couple different like options, especially for Amazon sellers. I talked about it before, like that 575,000 points, but I didn't actually share the cards. But I'll just share those real quick, because like every Amazon seller can do that, and it's like it's unreal. I think it's like 100 plus nights for free at 5,000 at that point. But basically, you got the Freedom card, Freedom Flex, and the Chase Sapphire. Those are the 3 personal cards that you'll get. And so those will get you 100,000 points. And then you got the Ink Preferred, Ink Unlimited, and the Ink Cash. And so those 3 have a 90,000, 90,000, and 100,000 sign-up bonus. So between those 3, you're getting 280,000, and then you have the 100,000, and then along with that, you have the spend that you get in points to get those sign-up bonuses, which is another 30,000, 35,000. So now you're at 310,000 points already from those. I think I did that math wrong.
We're not math experts. It's okay. We'll ask ChatGPT later.
Yeah, it's like 308. It's like 400,000 points.
A lot of points.
And then on top of that, you can get the Hyatt business card, which gets you 60,000 points, and then the personal card, which gets you 60,000 after a certain point. And so that's 520,000 points right there. And so the 400,000 are on Chase, and the other 120,000 would be on Hyatt. And the 400,000 on Chase you can use for anything like flights, hotels, whatever. But in my opinion, hotels are the best because I see all these cool transfers that people do for like the first class business flights, whatever. But at the end of the day, even if it's like a $10,000 flight you're getting for free, it's only like 12, 15 hours max that you get to use these cool amenities. Whereas if you had spent that same amount of points, you're probably getting like a full week of category 1 hotel nights for free. And so for me, it's like time per value. So
absolutely.
In that sense, I always use hotels. I'm actually going to make a YouTube video about that because people are always talking about flights and then never talk about how hotels are better.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I have a good system for using my points for flights. Actually, shout out to Cisco because he gave me this program called point.me. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I actually haven't heard of it.
It shows you like you enter, like you say, I have Amex points, and then it shows you where you should transfer them to get the max value for where you want to go. It shows you basically the best deals for where to transfer your points.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'm sure you're familiar with it, Ben, but like, you know how, for example, like Avianca could be under like Delta or Aeromexico is under Delta or whatever, right?
Yeah, like
but they all have their own reward system. So point.me will say, okay, don't transfer your points into Delta, transfer it to Aeromexico, and you're going to get X bump to get X flight for cheaper.
Oh wow, that's awesome. Yeah, because
so it really breaks it down.
Flights, I understand the gist of it, but like I've never really done any of the special flight bookings just because it's been like the extra step that I haven't really wanted to look into yet.
Yeah.
So that'd be really cool.
And I'm the exact opposite because then I'm over here dropping like 40K points on a hotel. So I need to step up my game there for sure.
It's funny. Up to this point, I have yet to use my points for a hotel. It's always been flights.
Damn. Yeah, you gotta get those
going.
And once you stay a lot at Hyatts and stuff, you get all these you get these free nights and stuff along the way. So like for 10 nights, 30 nights, 40 nights, for each like achievement, you get a value. And so like when you hit globalist, you get a category 1 through 7 free night that you can use anywhere in the world. So like you can literally pick like the most expensive hotel in the world and stay there for a night for free.
And they run promotions all the time. Like stay 3 nights, get a fourth one free, or get X amount of points for staying 4 times or whatever.
Yeah. My thing I'm going for now is lifetime Hyatt globalist status. So I'm going to put all my spend on my Hyatt business card that I just got approved for. And you need to get it's 1 million points for lifetime status. But with all the like bonuses and stuff they have, I think you only have to spend about 200 to 250 grand.
Nice.
And then you have status for a lifetime?
Yeah.
It's cool.
So that'd be pretty crazy. Yeah, Hyatts are just the best though.
Huh. Never knew.
They have
what? No, you go.
They have like a little less options sometimes than like Marriott or Hilton, but like if there is Hyatts, they're always better.
100%.
And you don't struggle to find them anywhere in the world.
Yeah, that was
pretty much not at all.
Hyatts are global.
Panama City was a little weak on options, which is why I'm actually at a Marriott right now. Okay. But this was actually the best Marriott conversion I've ever found. It was only 6,000 points a night.
Yeah, I don't know. That Marriott looks a little sketch. Looks like you're in a weird alleyway. Someone's gonna come up from behind you through that door.
No, it's pretty nice. It's like very modern too, and it's connected to a Sheraton hotel. So like when I walk downstairs and want to eat food, I just eat in the Sheraton, and it's way nicer.
Oh, nice. So, what about holidays? Are you going home for the holidays, or?
So I went home for Thanksgiving. My dad lives in Florida, so I visited him. And then I was actually in Vermont for Christmas 2 weeks before I went to Colombia and Venezuela. And after this, I'm doing Costa Rica for a week. And then if the Eagles win on Sunday next week, I'm actually going to the Super Bowl.
Okay.
So hopefully that happens.
No
All
way.
You're
The
shaking your
49ers are
head.
going to crush them, bro. I'm
You're a
sorry.
49ers fan?
No, I'm not,
hate
but
the
I live in
49ers.
DC, so I got to root for my Commanders one way or another.
Stop.
We'll see. I think it'll be a pretty good game. I think the Eagles will only lose if they like lose by themselves. Like every game they've pretty much the only time they've lost, they've done some dumb stuff. But when they don't do that, there's no team that's competed with them this season.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see about that. We'll do a water bet off camera. Don't worry.
Yeah. But yeah, then after that, I'm going back to Vermont for 2 weeks because I'm fixing the build on my car. I'm changing up the setup for this winter, and then end of February, I'm headed back out west, and gonna ski the rest of the winter until like May or June, and then my summer I'm gonna be spending in Africa.
Nice.
We're in
See,
Africa.
that's why I brought the hat out. I'm ready for the safari.
Oh yeah, you're ready. I'm gonna be flying. It's not all planned yet, but I'm most likely gonna be flying into like Cape Town and then working my way up the eastern Africa border.
You're gonna love Cape Town.
It's like 8 to 10 countries along that.
You're gonna love Cape Town. It
Like
is so
Uganda.
nice.
Yeah, everything I've heard of it looks awesome. Like it seems really cool.
Make sure you do Table Mountain. That thing, there's nothing like it. It's crazy.
Table Mountain.
Yeah. And then actually there's a little town outside of Cape Town called Stellenbosch as well. If you like wine, I would get out there and check that out.
Oh, I think that might have been where the Hyatt was. There was like a really nice Hyatt, like category 7, that looked like it was in like wine country or something.
It would be. It's nice out there.
Okay. I was thinking of staying there, so that might have persuaded me.
Yeah. Check it out, man.
Don't forget to add Josh when you post the little video of your hotel for the recommendation.
Exactly. Yeah.
He needs a couple more followers.
Yeah, that might be the one where I use my, my category 7 night.
Yeah.
That's pretty sick.
Cisco, you're a funny guy.
I try to be sometimes.
Yeah.
Me and my Snap
Yeah.
store.
That was a nice dig. I like
Snap
that.
score? Are you into the triple digits yet?
Probably not. Still single digits.
Dude, I told some of my players that, and they could not believe it. They were like, "How is that possible?"
Because I'm not on Snapchat. Okay, are you on Snapchat, Ben?
I used to use it, yeah.
Yeah, it's not that great. It's on the downward trend. Okay, just hop off. It's okay.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Thank you.
Sometimes people write me on there still, and I'm like, I'm not going to see that message for at least a week until I check it probably.
Yep. All right. So I think we are at that time of the episode where Logan gives us his special quote of the day.
There it is. I'm going to keep it short and simple today. He who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you on the next one.